An important first step is planning where you want to have your white spaces. So I often go in and lightly outline where those white spaces are going to be. Then I go in and I add a slightly warmer color highlight around those edges that will blend when I start adding in the white pencil. Then it's time to start outlining and edging in the dark burnished purple that I'm going to be using here. I don't like to use the colorless blender pencils that come with Prismacolors. I do most of my blending with a lighter color. If not white, then sometimes even the gray pencil. But the trick with the white is to make sure that you clean that tip off so that you're only blending the colors you want. It will pick up some of the surrounding colors that you're working with. So periodically wipe it off and clean that tip so that you're not smearing the color you don't want to. I think you can see what I'm doing here, working in small sections, pushing really hard to burnish and add that waxy finish that makes Prismacolor just show its best results. So next I'm going to skip ahead and work on a lighter colored section with this kind of pastel violet chili pepper. Watch as I again plan for where I want to have my highlighted spaces, and I build up layer and layer of different pencil to create shadows and get a sense of volume and roundness. One of the key takeaways I want you guys to see in watching me work is that I almost never use just one pencil to accomplish anything. It's all about choosing several colors that work in harmony together, choosing your highlight color, choosing your shadow colors, and layering with a light touch first, and then building up and finally doing that burnishing layer at the end to get the slick finish. After you've burnished, the paper tooth should be fully saturated and it won't be able to take on much more pencil. You can do a little bit of touch-ups here and there, but once you've got that slick finish on, you're not going to be able to adjust it very much. So you have to be really thoughtful and careful and do that build-up in slow levels and layers. So as I do this dark leaf section on the peppers, watch how I am going around with, this is actually a violet blue that I'm starting with, or blue violet I believe, and I'm actually adding a light layer of a brown into the center. It's going to mix and blend in with the violet pretty nicely to make a really dark rich color. And so many people would just go directly to the violet pencil and that would be the end, and you just aren't going to get the richness and variety that the Prismacolors really make available to you if you think ahead and if you plan to layer those different options together to get just more richness, more depth. Another thing to keep in mind or to look towards doing, this is a good art tip, not just a Prismacolor tip, but try to contrast your lights and darks. Set your dark sections against light sections and light sections against dark sections to create more clarity. So where you have overlap happening, try to have a slightly lighter layer coming over top to show the highlight effect of something being more forward or closer to the viewer, and put the darker layers underneath when it makes sense, of course, for your lighting, to kind of push it back in space and create clearer, more visible transitions between the sections. So it's always just planning ahead, thinking, but anytime you're putting dark against dark or light against light, you're going to lose an opportunity to really push an edge forward. So just keep that in mind. Here you can see I've tried to switch the cameras so you can get a really up close look at what I'm doing. The lighting's a little tricky, but you get the overall idea. The main thing I want you to see here is how I'm layering with the lighter touch and then switching to a different pencil. I went from magenta to mulberry here. And I'm just building up the layers. I'm going to try to keep that light, warm highlight around the ink section so that the dark black of the ink doesn't get lost against our dark value violet pencil. Those are the kinds of things you want to plan for, and sometimes you catch as you're working. One of the last things I'm going to do with this piece before it's all done is go back over my ink and touch it up and freshen it up from wherever the wax of the pencil has gone over that. Inking first and then doing your Prismacolor really is the best order of operations. You will wear out your micron pens faster if you go over the wax a whole lot, but where your Prismacolors do go over the inkwork, it will fade and dull that inkwork. So as a final touch, it does look better if you go back and touch it up. In conclusion, work with your light layers and build those up into your heavy burnish. Use multiple pencils on every section that you do. You never want to just stop with one color pencil pressing light and hard to get your variation. Get your variation through blending. So, mix, layer, burnish, and have fun.